Since we're on this topic, and I'm sure you probably dug into this too, because I find this one fascinating because there's countless stories on this. How do you feel about the rock apes from Vietnam? What do you think is like the probability of something existing like that, even if it isn't necessarily like an intelligent ape, but just some type of ape that hangs out on the ground and throws rocks at soldiers when they see them?
Yeah, so my wife is Vietnamese, and I've asked her parents about that. And when I was doing Beast Hunter, we were planning a season 2, and we were planning to go to Vietnam for the rock ape. And her father got very, very nervous and just told me not to do it. He was just like, "Don't do that. Don't go after them." And I was like, "So they're there?" He was like, "Just please don't go after them." And that gave me pause. I mean, this is a guy that I've known him for 20 something years, and I really respect what he knows about his country and the animals that he knows about in his country. And he seemed to indicate, he wasn't going to say right there that they are definitely there, but he knew enough about the region to say, like, no, stay away from that. Like, don't mess with that. So I do think that there's something to it. I think that in Sumatra, I did have the chance to investigate orang pendek. And I do believe that Lauren Coleman probably gets it right when he says that there's more than one species that people are describing as orang pendek. One probably more human-like and one probably more gibbon-like, but ground-dwelling apes. And I think that if they're not there, they were there very recently. And Mike Morwood, who's the guy that found Homo floresiensis, he is the one who discovered and named Homo floresiensis, the Hobbit people. So I met with him, and he said that he had found evidence. He's like, it's not enough to publish in a scientific journal, but I have found evidence that they were there. Homo floresiensis was there at least until the 1920s.
And I mean, they know for a fact that there's still that solid evidence, but I mean, even if there was enough of a group that they were able to make that solid evidence, but even like 50 years later, there could still easily be little remnants left in specific areas.
Yeah. And so this is one of the best, one of the top scientists in his field in the entire world. And I said, well, do you think that either floresiensis or maybe an orang pendek-like creature could still be somewhere in Indonesia? And he thought about it for a minute, and he was like, well, what are there? How many thousands of islands are there? How many of them are completely unpopulated? Yeah, I don't see why not. I was like, whoa, all right. I got to get back to Indonesia.
I mean, it's even one of those things, too, that we're always discovering new little offshoots of human-like species of things. So, I mean, like, who knows how many more there could be discovered. That could be where the intelligence factor comes in, is that they were this in-between spot where they weren't on the road to become a human, but they are maybe a little bit more close to the primate side than the human side. And they're just a subsectioned area where they've only been interbreeding with their own species for the past 50, 60 years. So they're actually like keeping their DNA how it is solid without it progressing into a new form of like another human type of DNA. I mean, there could be a bunch of groups like that.
That's island dwarfism and island gigantism. That's what you see when a population becomes isolated, and depending on the resources available, and you will see populations of creatures. Like Indonesia used to have tiny elephants. It was an example of island dwarfism, where they had these little elephants that were the size of dogs. And then you had island gigantism with Komodo dragons and things that were even bigger than Komodo dragons, lizards that were even larger than present day Komodo dragons. So you did see both examples, island dwarfism and island gigantism, in the same region. And Indonesia seems to be a prime spot for that. So a species of tiny humans is not out of the question, as weird